So the Artur Beterbiev versus Joe Smith Jr. fight is almost upon us. I have a feeling that this fight won't go the distance. I think it's going to probably be like a 4 or 5 round fight because both fighters can punch hard and both fighters will be looking for the knockout to make a statement since it is a unification fight at the light heavyweight division. And both fighters are trying to cement themselves as the best light heavyweight in the world. I feel like for Joe Smith Jr. to win this fight, he needs to stay off the ropes and focus on cutting the ring off on Beterbiev and trying to make it an ugly fight up close and, like an up close gritty fight. Because Beterbiev does like to box. It takes him, I'd say, maybe a few rounds to get warmed up and get, a shape of the rhythm of the fight before he starts to really try to impose his will. Smith's best chance of winning this fight is to press forward and make it a really aggressive and high output fight, because Beterbiev likes to fight in spurts before he's really warmed up. Once he's warmed up, he throws a lot more punches, but for those first few early rounds, I'd say he's a bit vulnerable to high output. Against Marcus Brown, he looked a little shaky at the beginning because Brown threw a few more punches than he was used to. Against Callum Johnson, he got knocked down in the early stages of the round because Callum Johnson made it a really aggressive fight from the get-go before Beterbiev was warmed up. If Joe Smith Jr. can do that, he can potentially get Beterbiev out of there. He could stun him and he could finish him then. But if Smith languishes on the ropes like he did against Vlasov, Beterbiev will pick him apart, and his output wasn't really too high on the ropes. He did fight off the ropes a few times against Vlasov and try to get it back in the center of the ring. I feel like he's going to have a lot harder of a time doing that against Beterbiev if he gets backed up. I feel like if Beterbiev backs him up to the ropes, he's going to keep him there. He's not going to let him get off like he was able to do against Vlasov right there, where he was able to come back and stun Vlasov just a little bit. I think Beterbiev is going to be aware that Smith can punch and he is aggressive and his gas tank doesn't really go away. So I feel like Beterbiev will try to slow the tempo of the fight down in the early stages and then pick it up late when Smith maybe is a bit more tired or he's throwing a lot more punches and maybe he might be a bit more susceptible to taking more damage. I know Tim Bradley said that Smith was going to get worn down in this fight and eventually stopped by Beterbiev in the early stages of the rounds, like 4 or 5. But if Smith can really keep the tempo high, he's going to probably outwork Beterbiev and potentially stop him. But if Smith, languishes on the ropes like what he's doing right here, he's not really doing himself any favors because Beterbiev can punch and he's a really good boxer. He's not going to take the risk of constantly going in there blind like Smith does sometimes. Smith did have a tendency to throw a few punches that were where he was out of range and he left himself open and vulnerable. If he does that against Beterbiev, Beterbiev will time it and potentially get him, kind of like that sequence right there where Vlasov was able to time Smith coming in and crack him. Beterbiev is a little susceptible to taking damage when he's going backwards. He's not really that great of a backwards type of boxer. He doesn't fight really that well going backwards. He's more of a come forward, pressure, boxer puncher type of style. Smith is your come forward aggressor. He doesn't box too well going backwards either. I think he boxes just a little bit better going backwards. And Smith can box too, but he needs to make it a brawl on the inside. At times, what he's doing here against Vlasov, he's going to need to do that against Beterbiev early to get some respect and to also deplete his gas tank a little bit. Because Beterbiev's gas tank, I don't think it's as good as Smith's. I think Smith has a lot more of a higher output style, whereas Beterbiev likes to throw a couple shots here and there early on to get warmed up and get a feel of the fight, and then he lets his combinations go a lot later on in the fight. So the key victories for Smith is avoid the ropes, back Beterbiev up to the ropes, and keep it in the middle and slug with him when needed. For Beterbiev to win, he needs to back Smith up to the ropes and catch him on exchanges where Smith does throw punches from odd angles and misses, Beterbiev can counter and potentially put Smith down or stun him. Another thing that Smith has going for him in this fight is that he's looked, pretty good in his last 2 fights. His title defense, he looked pretty good. I mean, I guess it was against a lesser opponent, but he did look pretty good. Against Vlasov, he showed that he can fight in the trenches for all 12 rounds. He got stunned a few times, but he was able to come back immediately. I think other boxers that fight Beterbiev, they're not really too great at doing that. So it should be interesting to see what will happen. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. This is the Space Cowboy, and thank you.